We're rolling.
We're rolling. We're live. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, we're on just like that.
Yeah, just like that. Roll straight into it.
I love it.
So for those that don't know what you do, Morgan, do you want to give yourself a bit of an introduction?
All right, the short one or the long one?
The long one. We got time.
The long one.
We got time.
Alrighty. Well, in a nutshell, what I do now is we've got two things happening. So first thing is I have my personal development and seminar company. So I'm a speaker, trainer. So I'll run, workshops and like that's my main thing. So really taking people through like complete breakthrough programs in their life. Like it's fucking sick. So we do a whole bunch of programs like that. That's my main thing. So the mission there is to impact the lives of 1 million people in the next 5 years. Have 1 million people come through our training and education, whether it be on stage or in our online education.
That's cool. You got numbers too.
Really just helping people learn the tips, tricks, skill set, and mindset. That's the main thing. The skill set and the mindset to create their dream life. So because I think everybody has it in them. Everybody has a burning desire. I think everybody has that dream inside them they want to bring to life. And then what happens is the world comes along and fucks it all up and tells them things where they can't do it, and they make up things in their head and blah blah blah. So I like that, take all that shit away from them.
Yeah, cool.
So that's the first thing. That's my main thing. That's my passion. And then this year we started a podcast agency as well. So me and my girlfriend and my business partner. So we put that together, Dojo Media. So we're just sort of kicking that off because it made sense. Like I've been doing my podcast for 3 years. And we done really well there. It's like number 6 in Australia.
Cool.
And so a lot of people started hitting us up. How do we do it? Blah blah blah. And then one thing led to another where we built the whole system for me. So I was just like, how can we duplicate that and give to other people now as well? So we're just getting that one off the ground. Building 2 at once is interesting. But that's kind of in a nutshell of what I do. Yeah,
cool. And so I guess let's go back a little bit now. Sort of when you have you always been in the Gold Coast, and where did you grow up, and how did your sort of youth look like? That sort of made you who you are today. Is that a deep one?
Yeah, we can go there. I grew up here on the Gold Coast. Yeah. Right. You're pretty much between here and Brisbane. Yeah. And my whole background was literally I finished school. Like the only reason I went to grade 12 was for the parties and the girls. It was the only reason. Like I think other people were fucking nuts when people were like, oh, I'm leaving. I don't like school. It's like I don't like school either, but. Are you nuts? Every weekend there's a party. Every weekend. And then when I go to school, I got to do nothing other than just show up and hang out with the boys. I'm milking this shit. In fact, one of my mates, he repeated year 12 so he could just stay in school longer. He was 1 year older than us. And I was like, because there were 2 brothers. And so one of my best mates, it was his brother. He was 1 year older than us. So when we got to year 11, he finished year 12 and he's like, fuck, like we're all hanging out. He's like, I want to repeat. So he repeats so he could stay 1 more year with us.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I'd probably go back and do that if I could.
He had to pull some strings. It wasn't easy for him. He had to have his family come in and really like negotiate and stuff. He's like, well, we want to do it. And it's hilarious. But then it worked because he was 18 then in grade 12.
And
we were all getting our license.
He was the plug.
So it was just working, man. Like, cause then all of his friends were all 18. So we're getting like, every time we go to parties and stuff, we'll just sort it. Like, it's fucking awesome. So I was like, I don't want to leave this shit. But at the same time, I sucked so bad at school. Like, I was okay. Like, I guess towards the end of it, I just got uninspired. That was really what happened. I was told we're going to read To Kill a Mockingbird another time, in English class. And I was like, the fuck? Like, I just never understood why we had to do the things we had to do at school. Wasn't inspired by it at all. And in fact, they told me that, I wouldn't really amount to much when I left school. And they said to us that they're like, we're going to recommend what you should do after school, and we'll recommend what you don't do after school. What we recommend you do is go do something with like a trade. Go work with your hands. Go become a tradie, carpenter, mechanic, something like that. And I was like, okay, I guess. Like, because then they told me, right, as the mind of a 16, 17-year-old, they're like, here's what you will succeed at. Go do this. So I was like, oh. Okay. But then they said to me, whatever you don't do, so whatever you do, don't do anything in speaking, writing, reading, or journalism, because that's not your strong suit at all. Now I've spoken 4 different countries around the world, 6,000 people at one time. Our podcast is streamed in nearly 100 countries now. And what I do for a whole career is speak. And now I'm on camera. And, so it's like, but for my first few years, I really believed them. I didn't know that I could do anything like that. Because my speaking, reading, and writing still sucks ass, but I just force through it. I just do it. And so I left school. And I got into a carpentry apprenticeship. That was where I started because mate just calls me up, pretty much here's a job and needed a job doing something after school. So I dived into that, liked it, that was great. But on my first day at the job site, I remember getting there, hard hat, high-vis boots and all. And 9.5 hours into the day, so 3:30 in the afternoon now, the boss comes up to me, he's like, hey, it's your first day of work, so you can go home early today. So I was like, fucking, this is early? I was like, what's a normal day? He's like, well, usually work till about 5. I'm like, damn, how many days a week do we do this? Because I had no idea about this whole full-time work thing.
Yeah.
I was like, how many days a week do we do this? He's like, 5, usually 6. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how many years do I do that for? And the answer was until the day I died. And that's when I really clicked. I was like, if I don't find a way to make money while I sleep, or if I don't at least find a way to do, like, I'm spend the rest of my life working. Like, that's it. This is like my first day I evaluate this. Here I am, 18 years old. I need a job to make money. I need money to go and do the things I want to do in life. So I either need to find a way to make more money or money while I sleep, or I need to find a way to actually have my day job, the thing I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing, at least absolutely fulfilling and super exciting for me. Where I think so many people just fall into that trap and they think that's like, oh, this is what it is. There's nothing else really for me. So I'm just going to go with the punches.
Yeah, they procrastinate.
Yeah, and or they think that like, oh, I guess they think they got to choose the option in front of them.
Yeah.
Like I see this happen all the time. And I think the reality, the reason is if people aren't really clear on what it is they want, if they're not crystal clear on what they want, they'll tolerate for what they get.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they want. So they don't know, if they don't know what they want, they don't know what they're getting. So same, I see this in relationships. Right? At one of my events, I get people to actually get a crystal clear vision of what they want in their relationships. What's their relationship to be like? Because I see this often. People tolerate, and you've probably seen it as well. Friends, they're just in a relationship, but then when their missus isn't around or the guy isn't around, they talk shit or they're disrespectful, right? And it's like, do you even want to be in a relationship? And like, and now they're in a relationship for other reasons. They're in there to be like, oh, well, it gives me company, or it makes me feel good, or it gives me the validation I need, or just someone to have sex with, or whatever. Because the thing is, if you're not clear that this is my standard for a relationship, I want a 10, right? I'm not just talking looks, just like, let's just call it 10 to measure something. I want a 10, but you're not clear you want that. You'll tolerate a 7 just because it's better than nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So if people are like out there and they're trying to get something, but they're not sure what it is they want, they'll tolerate anything they get out of the fear of maybe it not getting better, which is fucking horrible. Well, I don't tolerate anything less than what I want.
Yeah.
Now I'll get what I get. I'm like, cool, and we'll keep improving. But I'm just never content. Yeah, in a good way though. Like, but I'm like, this is great. We can do better.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's improve it.
Yeah.
So I that's what's happening, right? Job site. So I started thinking about all this stuff, and I started looking at the developer. He would rock up on the building site, and he rocked up in a brand new BMW, and here I am driving this piece of shit Rodeo. And everyone else around me is like, they're either, I was looking around me, I like the word Andrew Tate used, he said perspicacity. Have you heard him say that?
Yeah.
Perspicacity. I'm like, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Like, I think I've done it since a young age. I've just looked around and observed. I'm like, this guy, I'm like, if I stay here, here's what my life looks like. The happiest guy on the job site is the guy who just finished his apprenticeship, who's now making $45 an hour. He's the most money he's ever made. But then after that, it's the boss who's super stressed out and he's run the whole thing and he's always complained that he doesn't make much money. Then it's the supervisor and he's old and grey and he's stressed out, run everyone's shit. And then it's these other chippies that are hanging around who are 55 years old, alcoholics that have to ride their bike to the job site because they lost their license to drink driving. And I'm like, man, I don't like this future here. But then the developer drives on site one day, brand new BMW in a suit and everything. I was like, who's this guy? Well, he's the developer. He's who we're building this shit for. I'm like, that's the guy I want to be. Yeah. Like, Mace, doesn't take many brain cells to think of that.
Yeah.
You guys are all losers, right? And like, no offense, but it's like, that's the environment it's leading you to. But this is the guy that's got the shit going. This is the guy everyone's coming up on to shake his hand. Everyone's the ones who are wanting to be like, want to do well around him.
Yeah.
And he's the guy driving a brand $250,000 car. So from that point, I'm like, I want to be a builder. I want to build this up. I want to develop the properties. I want to get into this stuff. And so I committed to doing my apprenticeship through all the thick of it. And so then we went away from down here. We went up to Mackay to do work because we ran out of work down here. Went up to there. Here we are. We're graduated from 10-hour days to 14-hour days. And we're doing this 7 days a week, 3 weeks at a time. Then I'll take 2 days off.
Yeah.
And we're working 42 to 45 degree heat every single day. 12 tradies living in a 2-bedroom house. The place was like feral. Like, you know the smell? Like when you wash your clothes and you don't hang them out in time?
Yeah.
Right? It's like that. It's like the whole place smelled like that, BO, just like disgusting, right? But the worst thing was we'd leave the job site, come home, and it would never stop because everyone wants to keep talking work and work. Yeah. So I could never actually switch off. So then I started to look at these guys, like, how do they deal with it all? And I looked around, and they were drinking every single day. They were all taking drugs every single morning to wake up. They were taking drugs during the day to keep going, drugs in the afternoon to come down. And it's just this whole cocktail of like drugs and alcohol to survive. And I thought that was normal. I was like, oh, the tradie life, that's what it is. So here I am at 19, completely like the rest of them. Angry, depressed, anxious, not knowing what those emotions were, by the way. I was like, I didn't know that this feeling, like I thought it was weird to talk about. I was like, I didn't know that this has gone back 10 years now. I'm fucking 30 in 2 years. Hectic. I don't know how that happened. But I was 19, right? So doing 11 years. This is before social media was really popping, before people did podcasts like this where they were talking about these sorts of things. So I was like, why the fuck do I feel like this? What's wrong with me? And I just thought I was like, had some illness or some shit. And I was super depressed, super anxious, going for a list. But then here I was using drugs every single day to wake up, drugs every single day to keep going. And it was just an absolute cycle. Until it got to the point where my self-confidence was so low, my self-esteem was so low, I was so sad, I felt like I was completely alone, no one understood me, and I was just in so much pain. And I interviewed a guy, I don't know if you've seen that story, that American guy who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived to tell the story. Yeah, so Kevin Hines, I interviewed him, and we talked all about this, and he's like, the biggest regret I had was when I jumped off, my hand left the rail. And he's like,
I've heard that story.
and he explains it as brain pain. I'm like, that makes a lot of fucking sense, because talk to someone who's had severe depression, it's like, that makes a lot of sense. It's not really like this, it's pain in the brain, and that's what I felt like. I was like, I had so much pain inside where I thought the only way to actually end it would be to end my life. I'm like, it's gonna be more painful to stay here than it would be to leave. So in an absolute doped up state, 19 years old, completely off my face, I tried to take my own life, thinking that was the only way out. And I was super grateful for it because it woke me the fuck up. Because I realized, I was like, how could I 6 months ago, 12 months ago, be so happy doing what I was doing, living on the Gold Coast, being a tradie, talking to the smoko chicks, going to surf in the weekend with the boys. Like, I was like, this is a good career. Like, I don't mind this, work in the sun, like, sure. To this, I was like, what the hell happened? And the answer I got was, your environment changed. And that's when I really started to put some pieces together and started to intrinsically follow what I knew was right from the get-go, and I left the job. And I remember I stayed in that career. I did all the shit stuff because I wanted the end result. But what's interesting is, like, sometimes what I realized was when we try to control our own journey, it's often going to be a lot shittier and harder. Instead, if we pick the end result we want, we work on ourselves and get as best we can every single day, and then just roll with the journey. That's what life's really about, because it's like the universe is going to guide you. The universe, God, whatever, is going to say, here's what's next for you. Here's your next obstacle. But what I was trying to do is like go against what my intuition was saying. My intuition was like, stay here, trust yourself. You'll get work down here. You'll get work. I was like, no, I got to keep doing the apprenticeship. I got to keep doing this. So at that point, I was like, fuck this. Nothing will ever be more happy. Nothing will ever be more important than my own happiness again. And I'm going to choose what I want from now on. And I left, came back down here and got around different people, finished my apprenticeship, did all this, started my own business at 21. My friend introduced me to network marketing at 21. Had no idea what it was, but I just saw it as a way to like make an extra bit of cash. But that's why I always say to everybody, it's like, change your environment. They'll soon introduce you to the person you need to become. Because if you surround yourself, like, one day I shared a story. You ever been on YouTube when you start searching shit and then half an hour later you're in a rabbit hole watching random fucking shit, right?
Happens more often than I'd like to.
Right? And then you're like, how the fuck did I get here, right? One day I'm watching all this stuff, right? And I like to watch like psychology, and I like to watch human behavior and all this. And I went all the way down to like animals in the wild. And these horses being introduced to a new pack. Don't ask me like how I got this fucking video. I was like, introducing a horse to a new pack. Watch what happens. I'm like, what happens?
I need to know.
Show me. Hooked me in, right? And I'm watching, and you got all these other horses here, and this horse comes in, and two interesting things happen. The first horse comes in, and he was a little bit more timid, and he has to come in and try to find his spot. And the other horses would come up to him and would bite him and kick him and spit at him and like come up to its face and be like, right? And just be like communicating with him and be like, this is how it's fucking done around here. And he had to fit in quickly, right? So if he wanted to run this way, they would punch him, kick him, and be like, no, we do it like here. And eventually, he fit into the herd, he found his place, and he just went along with life. And then another one came in, and this other one came in, and he came in, he tried to do the same thing. And he came in, I'm going to do my own thing. He comes in, starts eating over here. They keep coming up, biting, kicking him. And then eventually he was like, fuck this. And he started kicking them back, biting them back. And he started setting the new tone. And eventually, all the other horses came up to his standard. And they started doing what he was doing now. He was the ringleader. I was like, isn't that interesting? See, we're the exact same. We're pack mentality.
Yeah.
So the people we surround ourselves with will either manipulate us and program us and pull us down to their standard of living, or they'll pull you up to their standard of living. Now, the people you surround yourself with are literally the ones who are going to determine how successful we'll become. And I started to just clue all this on, and that's been my hack ever since. I'm like, every time I want to level up, I just got to make sure I get around people that are doing so much better than me, that have a more discipline than me, that have a different standard than me, that say things like, I was sitting in the car one day on my way to golf with my mentor, and we were talking about investing and the recession and all this stuff. I said, well, what are you doing with all your money, blah, blah, blah. He goes, a lot of my money's tied up. We're doing this. So I've just got a little bit of cash sitting in the bank. I'll wait for some stuff to drop and I'll buy it. Cool. What are you waiting to buy? He's like, well, I don't know. I might get a few properties and, a bit of this and a bit of that. I said, how much you get to invest? Like, how big are you swinging? He's like, I've only got a little bit. I've only got a few million sitting in there and like liquid. And then we're going to, buy this, and this. I'm like, that's so interesting that your perception of a little bit of money is a few million US dollars just liquid sitting in your bank.
Yeah, levels to the game.
Right? So it's like, but then I've talked around other people where I say, oh my God, we made this much this month. Right? And they're like, oh my God, you think you're so good.
You don't understand.
Right? So like, I really started to just click onto all this, right? And that's why now my whole 3-day Dream Out Loud Method event is called, the Dream Out Loud Method, which is built off the 4 pillars. The first one is getting into the right environment. So that's what I did at 21. Right environment, I found the right vehicle. Right, and I started building my own business at 21, and I sucked. I sucked so bad at it in the beginning. But what I knew was, it's like, and I think this is what scares a lot of people, the fear of actually stepping into something new. But I love it. I absolutely love it, because here's one thing, like, we're all craving certainty. It's the number one thing human need, certainty. The second one is uncertainty. So I love uncertainty. But what I'm clear is that I know exactly what my life's going to be like if I keep doing what I've been doing. I have absolute full certainty. So if I don't try something new, if I don't try this new relationship, this new business, this new way, this new whatever, if I don't try it, I know with absolute certainty that I know exactly what I'm going to get. Everything that I've been getting. Now, I'm a gambling man. I only got one life here. I would rather roll the dice and give this thing a try. Let's just see what happens. It's either going to fail and I'll be exactly where I was, or it might just pay off. What if it does?
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my whole mentality the whole time. And then, fast forward, I quit my job at 23, moved to Mexico. I was financially free then to make enough money while I slept. Residual income from the business I built. And moved to Mexico. That was sick. Built that into 6-figure business. Then we're doing 7 figures a year in sales. We had customer base in 18 or 19 countries around the world. That was cool. And then 3 years ago, COVID hit, started my podcast, and really dived into my mission business, which is everything that we're doing now.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. Done really cool shit since then.
Yeah, awesome.
That's really cool.
What made you want to start the podcast?
Well, I think what I know now, I teach a thing called Discovering Your True North. So I help people really discover their true north in life. So, because I believe if you know exactly what you've been coded and programmed here to do, and you follow these things and you build a successful life around that, you'll not only live a financially successful life, but a very inspiring life.
Yeah.
And so my true north is learning and teaching. I love to learn shit and I love to teach shit. So every single day I'm just fascinated, I'm curious of learning stuff about horses in the fucking wild, or just random stuff. I just love to learn stuff.
Yeah.
But I love to teach. I know that now. So intrinsically, I guess back then I was just following what really inspired me, what I liked. So I remember I was sitting in Ocean City, Maryland, in USA. That's where my ex was from. And we're sitting there, and I just had the download. I was like, I want to start a podcast. I want to do this thing and actually start building my personal brand bigger. That was sort of the biggest thing. I was like, I want to build my personal brand, put it out there, really start teaching the things I know, because I've invested now $250,000 in my personal development plus. I've been able to work with some of the best people in the world, like Bob Proctor's, Tony Robbins. I spoke on stage with Darren Hardy, the founder of Success Magazine. And I've got some really amazing people around that do really, really well. And I just thought, what if I could give some of this knowledge I get to talk to them with, like on the golf course or on a phone call, or hanging out? What if I can just give that to people and really create a bigger impact? Knowing that one day I want to start my events company. So I was like, I'm just going to start here. But like we were saying before we started this, I delayed that for 18 months because I got in my own head and I was like, and this is the thing with imposter syndrome. In the beginning, it's really simple. In the beginning, it's like, but you can't do that. You're not young. You're too young. You're too old. You're too this. You're too that. It's like really simple stuff. Like, but isn't that gonna be scary? Like little simple shit.
Yeah.
And then the more you start to overcome it, it never goes away. You just gotta get really good at conditioning it and telling it who's boss. So one day I was sitting there, and this dragged on for 18 months. Right, this voice, it was saying to me, "Awesome. You know when you do this podcast, you're gonna kill it as well, because of course you're gonna crush it. Because this is where I've got my mentality to right now." But it was like, but are you sure you have the time for it?
Yeah.
Because isn't it take so much time? Do you sure you have enough money for it? Because isn't it like a huge production, like, like Tom Billion and stuff? Like, are you sure you have enough money? I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Maybe I don't. Maybe I should wait a little bit longer. And then it was, but just wait until you make it your first $1 million. Or it was like, wait until you're making $1 million a year first, and then start it. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I should wait until I'm making $1 million a year first. Profit, not revenue, not sales, profit.
Yeah.
Profit $1 million a year first, and then you're worthy enough, good enough to do it. That put me off for 18 months.
Yeah.
And then 18 months later, COVID hit, and I was sitting with a couple of days in lockdown. I think I just got interviewed on a podcast, and I was just talking to the guys about it. I was like, how long have you been doing it? And he's like, fucking easy. He's like, we just started the other week. We're just in it. We're just interviewing people. And I'm like, I can do this. Why am I putting this off? And I started to question the thought. It's like, because you're not making $1 million a year yet. It's like, that's so dumb. Like, if I made $1 million tomorrow, that's going to matter absolute nothing between tomorrow and now of the value that I can give and the people that I can actually bring on my
Yeah, 100%. You've already gone through so much. So it's like you've already learned so much that you can give.
It's just a story. Like we get in our own way.
Yeah.
And I think life is really about being able to intervene the story we tell ourselves as to why we can't have the thing we want. Because the only reason we're not getting what we want is because that thing we're telling ourselves. Like, you could be sitting in a brand new Ferrari, and that thing's gonna go like a beast. But if you're too scared to drive, you'll never drive. Or if you do, it'll be very, very slow. But if you have absolute zero belief you know how to drive a car, you'll never leave the driveway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter the vehicle you're in if it's the person driving the car every single time. So I think it's really just about getting into that and getting clear and questioning it. I question everything. I question myself, right? Sometimes I'll say things on podcasts, and then a week later I'm like, no, I was wrong. But when I said it, I was right. But a week later, I'm like, no, I believe something different now.
Yeah. Evolving.
Always evolving. It's important though.
Yeah. You mentioned before you were talking about you teach the 4 pillars of you focus on 4 pillars, was it?
Yeah.
When in your teaching, I think you mentioned 1. What are the other 3? And is that how you? Obviously, that's how you teach and what you teach. Do you sort of base what you do sort of day to day off those 4 pillars as well?
What I do, it's mainly my teaching, right? Because when I put it together, when I started really talking about all this, I started teaching it for like an hour keynote on stage.
Yeah.
I'd get flown to, spoken in America, Canada. No, not Canada. I haven't been let into Canada. That's a story. I've spoken in 4 countries around the world, mainly around achieving your dream life through these 4 pillars, and now it's just built bigger and bigger and bigger into a 3-day event. It goes for 40 hours of content now.
Yeah, wow.
Across 3 days. But yeah, it's built off. What I believe is this: there's 3 levels of learning. So the first one, we can know something. So I can talk about the 4 pillars, and people can be like, "Oh, cool! Now I know it." When I hear it, and they hear it a second time, they'll be like, "Oh, I know that. I heard him talk about that. Cool." Second one is understanding. So they learn it enough. Perhaps they study it and study it and study. And they're like, "Oh, I really have a very deep level understanding of this now, and I can teach it to other people and communicate it in a way that makes sense for me, so it can make sense for you." But unfortunately, that's where the majority of the population stops. It's like, if you ever go into university to study business, I've always just never understood that. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. If I want to learn business, well, I ought to go and learn from someone who has a job. That doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Waste of time.
Yeah.
You did it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
No sense. If I want to learn business, why would I go from someone who just understands business? But see, that's what happens with the programming, the matrix, right? People just plug into this thing and they just do the same thing everyone else is doing. I'll tell you why that happens in a second. But the understanding is where most people get stopped. But the third level is embodiment. right? Embodiment. And that's what I built. All my training is about. So like when people come through, they don't leave with a big textbook filled with all these notes and shit. They leave with different belief system, different values, different identity, different behavior. Because if I can really reshape and rewire how you do your life and how you perceive yourself in the world, everything else will change. You will do the right actions to get what you want if you believe everything else to be true inside of you. So that's really what the program's about. So the 4 pillars is the right environment. Okay, so 2 things, right? Let's talk about why the right environment. This thing I just said, why. Psychologists, the longest everlasting test in human time, right, of psychology. What they did was they put 4 people in a room, 3 of them were actors, 1 of them was a real person. And what they said is we're going to put 4 lines on the board. So they're like 4 lines and 1 is significantly bigger than the others, right? So three lines the exact same, 1's like triple the size. Stands out like dog's balls. And they say to all you need to do is walk in here and pick out the one that is different to the rest. So obviously the guy comes in and what they told the actors though, they said, you've all got to pick the wrong answer. And they told them which one to pick. So they said, you guys come in, you pick A. And clearly the answer is C. They all come in, they all sit down, and the guy's looking at it first like, it's an easy test. And then everyone else picks A. He's like, what the fuck? These guys are cooked, man. And he circles C. He's like, what the hell? It's like clearly different. They reset, they do it again, they jumble it all up. This time they say to them, you guys all got to pick B, but the answer's A. They all come in, they pick B, and he looks at them again, he's like, what? And he picks A, he's like, it's A. This happens 4 to 5 times before some really interesting shit happens. They come back in, each time the real person's getting weirder and weirder, being like, what? And now it's not funny anymore. Now he's like, Now he's starting to question his own sanity. And he's starting to actually question, am I right or am I wrong? Everyone else is choosing this. So they all come in and they say, okay, you guys are all got to pick D, but you know the answer. So the actor's got to pick a D, but the real answer's A. He comes in, they all pick D. And then the real guy, he goes, it's a D. And then they do it again, and he just fits in again and again, and he'll copy. And what they've shown, right, is that it's more important for humans to fit in with the people around them than it is for them to actually stand out and choose what they believe is right, to go with what they believe is the truth. So now let's throw this into the real world. People go through school and they start school, this big dream, this big idea, they want to do this, they want to create this success. And then what happens is they go through the freaking conveyor belt of programming and telling them who they need to be, who they should be. Forget about your dreams, your creativity, all this stuff. Oh, you've got ADD, let's give you some altering drugs, all this sorts of shit, and just kills everything inside of people. They come out the other end and say, what do you want to be, little Johnny? Oh, I want to be a lawyer. Why do you want to be a lawyer? I thought you wanted to be fucking race car driver. Oh, no, but everyone else has been a lawyer, so I'll just go be a lawyer as well. Everyone else is going to uni, I'll just go to uni too. But you don't need to go to uni to be a race car driver, little Johnny. Oh, yeah, but I better do it just in case. Right? And they're doing things completely unconscious and not knowing why. Right? This is the whole thing why the environment is super important, because another study they did, scientists got 6 monkeys, they put 6 monkeys into a cage. At the cage they put a bunch of bananas.
I've heard this one.
Right?
Good.
Yeah. And what happened was the monkey goes up the ladder to get his bananas, and as soon as one monkey goes up, they would smash the other monkeys with freezing cold water. They'd scald the monkey with water. So they started to realize every single time one of you go up the ladder, we get punished. So we're going to beat the shit out of this monkey. So every single time one goes up, one gets the shit beaten out of him, brings back down. Eventually no monkeys go anywhere. They all just stand there like, shit, I don't want to go anywhere. They take one monkey out, they put in a brand new monkey. This monkey goes up the ladder, gets the shit beaten out of him. He's like, what the hell just happened? Because they're like, don't go there. They replace another monkey, put a brand new one in. He goes up the ladder. He gets shit beaten out of him by every single monkey, including the one that just got put in. I had no idea why he was joining in, but he joined in. Then they replaced another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, until the whole cage was filled with 6 brand new monkeys. Not one of them had been up the ladder, and not one of them had been scalded with water. But they're all sitting there doing nothing, and there's bananas up there. Now, if you were to ask the monkey, hey, why don't you go after your bananas? He'd probably say one or two things. He'd probably say, well, that's just the way things have always been done around here. Or he would say, I didn't even know that there were bananas there. Because what happens is if we continually say no to something, we continually block things out, it'll create a mental scotoma, and we won't even pick it up in our reticular activating system. So if a part of our brain that literally goes and finds information and brings back to us, that's how we pick up the things that are around us. If you don't have a goal to be successful, you'll never see the people around you that are successful and think to ask them a question. Hey, how'd you do it? You never think to start a podcast or want to go get around people like that. So if you don't have the goal, if you don't have the vision for your own life for it to be better, then you'll never actually pick up in your awareness resources that can help you get there. But same thing happens is if you think you're a failure and you're no good and nothing's gonna happen, guess what? You'll continually find all the resources around you to prove why that's right as well. So the environment, everything's got to start here because our external environment will control our internal environment. The people around us, the cage, the monkeys, the programming, the lines, all of this has been proven that the people around us, our external environment, will literally shape how we perceive the world internally. And then it doesn't matter anything about what actually is real. All that matters is how we perceive reality. Right? That's the only thing that matters. If we think the world is a dark and evil place, then we'll act out feelings and behaviors of dark and evil shit. Or being super depressed and miserable. But if we see the world as actually being beautiful and there's opportunity everywhere and amazing, then we'll act that out as well. Same world, different perception of it. So the biggest thing is the people around us, right? The things we listen to. Is why I don't watch the news. None of that shit. I don't think anyone in our generation does. It's fucking hilarious. I saw on TikTok actually yesterday, Channel 9 or some shit.
I don't know how they actually stay afloat.
Boy, it was hilarious because it was on TikTok, right? So sometimes if I want to kill my mind off for a bit, I'll just like watch funny shit on TikTok.
Guilty pleasure.
Right? What is that?
That's me.
That was you? Oh, and so I was watching this freaking video. This was so funny. And Channel 9 news reporters are like, hey, you, we're about to go live on with the real news, right? So check out below, come and watch us, blah, 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 blah. And it was just so funny. It's like, with the real news, I was like, you're kidding me, right? And you're marketing on TikTok.
Yeah.
Filled with Gen Zs and millennials who've had years of your bullshit.
Yeah.
We just went through 3 years of your false fucking shit. And you're going to call it the real news? Okay, let's see the comments. And bro, they were getting blasted.
Oh, that's good.
And they're like, the real news, what the fuck, And I'm like, I really think we're in a pivotal time right now. Once the boomer generation is really sort of seasoned out, where our next generation is going to be like, bro, let's talk realness.
Yeah.
Like, but,
That's why podcasts are so big these days
yes,
as well.
Yeah.
and they're being monitored as well, though.
Yeah. They
Right?
Yeah.
But it's a lot more freedom of speech than what there has been, kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you still look at the Nelk boys.
Yeah.
They got their Donald Trump podcast taken down within 24 hours. Like
Yeah.
the fucking guy who's running the entire country.
Yeah.
How can he get cancelled?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. But that's so the whole environment thing is literally gonna make or break everybody. Like you could have no skill set. You could be the dumbest person in the room, poorest person in the room. But if you surround yourself with 5 extremely happy, successful, confident people, it'll eventually rub off on you, and they won't tolerate your shitty behavior anymore. They'll pick you back up. So that's the first one. Second one is the vehicle. Finding our true north in life and discovering a vehicle that makes sense for that. Right? So the things that literally light us up, and if people are watching this right now, they want to discover, it's like go and find things that excite you the most. The things that bring us energy are the things that are exciting for us.
Yeah.
The things we spend money on are things that are meaningful to us. All these sorts of things. So if we can look, what do you spend money on? What are your personal, like if you look around my house, we have like books and shit. Literally inside my office is like something like books and online courses and all this stuff. So everything around me is learning.
Yeah.
Learning. And so if we start to actually look around, what are the things that we spend money on, we spend energy on, we spend time on? We'll do all these things we spend time, energy, money on are the things that are important for us in our life. It's going to lead you to things that are actually meaningful for you. So if we can create a life around that, you lead towards the right vehicle for you. Third one is the right timing. So it's a cliche thing, when's now the right time to really take full ownership of your life and go after your dreams? No better time than right now. Get into it. But a lot of people procrastinate. Why is that? Because there's 2 things that drive all human behavior: the need for pleasure or to avoid pain. And until we tap into those, I'll tell for a story.
Oh, sip of water. Here we go.
No, so there was this little boy, right? Little boy's walking down the road, super pissed off at the world, and he's wanting to be more successful. And he's complaining about his life, keeps complaining. And eventually he's in the distance, he hears this like dog crying, like, rah, 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 rah. He's like, what the fuck is this? He gets loud, he gets closer, he gets the louder it gets. It's like, rah, rah, really, really, really loud. And he gets so pissed off and he walks all the way up to this old man's house. Old man's sitting on the porch and he says, what is this noise that's coming from your house? He said, well, come around the back, I'll show you. They walk around the back of his house and he sees his dog sitting in the corner, absolute crying and crying and crying. Kind of similar to the little boy. The little boy is like just crying and whinging about his life and a full victim. And he says to the old man, he said, what's wrong with your dog? He says, well, he's sitting on a nail. He said, then why does he just get off the nail? He says, because it doesn't hurt enough for him yet. And the little boy's like, oh my goodness. Right? Because the thing is, if people quite often like to walk around and complain about the situation, but then do nothing about it. Have you ever wondered why that is?
Yeah.
Right? Because it sucks enough for them to complain about it, but it doesn't suck enough. The pain isn't there enough for them to actually get off the nail and do something about it. Because people perceive getting off the nail and doing something is also painful. Leaving the comfort zone, picking up the phone, making a sale, starting the business, having hard conversations, negotiating, doing all these sorts of things. They perceive it with, well, it could be hard. It could like and all this sort of shit that come in from early childhood. Like at school, if you fail a subject, what happens? You get punished. You got to resit the exam again. You gotta get extra tutoring. You gotta stay back. You get, your parents get called. All this sorts of shit.
Yeah.
So we start to actually associate from a young age that if I fail, it's bad. I get punished. So when they go into the real world, they got to try to avoid failing as much as they possibly can. But we all know that in school, they don't test you on your ability to actually be smart and successful. They test you on your ability to just remember shit.
Yeah.
That's it. But in this world, it's all about actually the things you actually know and the things you do, not thinking your remembrance, right? So I think that's why a lot of people have a fear to actually go out there and do the things they want to do, because it's the young age thing. It's like, well, what if I fail?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Bounce back.
Just go again. That's what happens if you fail. It's not actually a fail. The only time you can ever fail is when you quit.
Yeah.
When we actually give up. It's the only time we can ever actually say, I failed that. I completely stopped. But other than that, if you keep going and you collect data, right, and actually get feedback from why it didn't work, and we keep going, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But a lot of people sort of stop there. So what they do is they live a 7 out of 10 life, right? Because 7 is just good, especially here in Australia. You can have minimum wage, right? Like, why would someone want to become an entrepreneur? Why would you want to become an entrepreneur and go through all that risk, all that hustle, all that sacrifice,
All the stress,
all the late nights, all these sorts of things that come with it, when you can just make minimum wage, still drive a brand new car that's financed, live in a nice house on the water here on the Gold Coast with a few friends, and go to Burleigh Pavilion every fucking weekend still.
Yeah.
And just do it again.
Sounds pretty nice.
Like, you can do that. You can make $800 or $900 a week and do all that, right?
Yeah.
So people are like, why do I want to push that harder in hope that there's no certainty there? There's certainty here. I know I can have that, back to the whole certainty, uncertainty thing, right? Which is why, like, I think entrepreneurs are just a different breed, because they're just willing to never tolerate or settle for mediocrity.
Yeah.
But until we can actually get super clear that it's more painful to stay where we are than it will be to actually progress, then we'll keep choosing the same thing over and over and over, because we're just getting guided by the pleasure. Which pleasure, like a vision of our future, is exciting, it's motivating, but pain is like 10 times more motivating.
Yeah.
So if we can actually get clear on going, because most people go, cool, I'm sitting here, I want to start a business, I want to do something, I want to talk to that girl. If I do it and this happens, they go to worst case scenario, then I fail, it's bad, so I'll just do nothing.
Yeah.
But what they don't do is go, well, what if I keep doing that shitty behavior of not taking action for 10 years? What's that going to look like now? What if I keep not going to the gym for 10 years? What if I keep not building my business for 10 years? What if I keep doing this shitty behavior for 10 years, 20 years, and I'm 50, 60 years old now? What's my life going to look like? How much money will be in my bank? What's my health going to look like? What's my relationships look like? And if that isn't pain inflicting enough to take action, then I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Right? You're not getting clear enough on it. So people just, they don't take into account what could actually happen. And that's what motivates me literally every day. I turned 30 in 2 days. I don't know how. My girlfriend said to me this morning, she's like, you're old this weekend. I'm like, and I was thinking, I was doing my gratitude this morning, I was like, man, that last decade has been fucking wild. Because I remember my 21st birthday and I was cooked off my face, blacked out the whole night. Like, it was just wild. I was like, I've done okay in the last 9 years.
Yeah.
I've done okay. I'm actually pretty proud. and I was looking back and I was like, done all this amazing stuff. And I'm so grateful to be 30. I'm so grateful for this. It's so freaking cool. And then I was like, why do people hate getting a year older every year? It's like, well, the reason is because they ain't fucking doing anything.
Yeah.
I would be depressed too if I got to 31 next year. I was in the exact same position.
Yeah.
Live in the same house, same bank account, same health, same business. I'd be fucking depressed too. Like, far out. So I I like to look and be like, yeah, dirty.
I've done
Like, it's
good
like,
this year.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, because like that's what motivates me. I want to get to 40, 50, 60 and be like, God damn, look at this shit.
Yeah,
look at
what
this.
I built.
Yeah.
Look at the playground of life. This canvas I had, and this is what I put on it.
Yeah.
How cool is this? And I've still got more to go. What else can I put on? But people don't step back and go and think, what can I put on this? And then actually do it. So they get trapped in the fear. So the right timing is all about really tapping into like making the decision and fully going for it. If until we completely make the decision that it's happening and it's done, then we won't do it. Same as like a guy coming home, and any women listening to this podcast, right? Guy comes home to you and they say to you, hey baby, I'm 99% sure that you're a woman of my dreams. Let's get married. Every room I do this in, I say, women, who's excited about that? Usually there's one woman who's desperate because she chose the 7 when she actually wants the 10, right? Oh, I'll say yes still. I'm like, yeah, well, I feel sorry for you because you're tolerating less than what you actually fucking deserve, woman, right? Like, if you're not excited, if you're not 100% committed, then why would you, like...
Why commit at all? If
why are you doing
100%?
it? So, but every single other girl, they're like, no, I want the 1%. And all the guys are like, what do you mean? I've given you a whole 99% more. And they're like, no, I want that 1% more. I want your 100% commitment. So yeah, and so does your dreams. So does your business. So does everything. But as soon as we commit 100%, everything actually happens. It's very simple.
Yeah.
But 99% in is a really grueling process because we're 1 foot in, 1 foot out still. And we give that energy. So what happens is we get shitty results and we go, oh, and it's so hard. But when we're 100% in, any result we get is great because we're like, yes, we're growing. It's a totally different mindset. And then the last pillar is becoming the right you. So you've got to become the right you. The person who got you to where you are now won't be the person who got you to where you need to go in the future. And with every single new level is a new devil, a new layer of the onion that we've got to peel back and have a look at in our brain and be like, what? Our neurology. I was having a conversation yesterday with my coach. And I'm like, you know, the goal is to get to $1 million a month, you know. And she's like, cool. Have you built your neurology to withstand that? I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? But I get what you're talking about, but it's a different level conversation. It's like, how do I really, and that's what it all is. It's like, if we can actually build our neurology, our nervous system, our, like, increasing our vibration really to the point to withstand the results we're calling in. Once we get to that point and we can literally do the work internally enough, then we'll actually receive it. So it's all about going, well, what do I need to unlearn? What's that next step to unlearn? And we're doing all this stuff yesterday and discovering all this shit that actually had a big thing inside of me that I was really content with, like becoming successful, but only to this degree. Once I get to the degree, I'd be like, oh, I'd chill. And I was like, well, if I keep that, I need to change my perception of that. So now I'm going to change it where that new standard will be $1 million a month. Right? But then what will happen is I'll bump into the same problem there. But it's a good problem to have there.
Yeah,
great problem.
So, become the right you comes down to 3 things. The first one is the right belief system. You know, there's a guy, Roger Bannister, right? If you know Roger Bannister, he ran the first 4-minute mile. So literally before he ran the first 4-minute mile, scientists believe it was physically impossible. Your heart would burst out of your chest. They're like, your heart, you just cannot do it. Cannot be done. And he's like, bullshit, I'm gonna do it. So he kept trying, visualizing, absolutely believed himself. About 6 weeks before he did it, someone else tried it, failed by 2 or 3 seconds, and fell on the ground and had like a heart attack. He didn't die, but he like passed out and shit. And they're like, it's just too dangerous, you can't do it. And then eventually Roger comes along, boom, does it, sets a new world record. And then 6 weeks later, another person did it. And then another person, and another person, and another person, and another. Now there's been thousands of people do it. What changed? Did people's bodies get better? No. Did the 4 minutes get longer? No. The only thing changed was people's belief was now there. They're like, fuck, it is possible.
Yeah.
And if we have the belief that it is actually possible, we'll tap into more amounts of our potential. We tap into more amounts of our potential, we take more action, we get better results. The results we get will then dictate and reinforce the original belief. So if we have a belief that, but I'm not confident enough, then we'll then tap into this much potential. Because we're like, well, what's the point tapping into it all? Because I don't believe it. Tap into this much. And as human beings, we have infinite potential, right? Tap into this much potential. So when we take this much action, we get this much results. The results come back and go, see, I told you. It doesn't even work. I'm not even that good. See, let's just not even try. Then they tap into even less, take less results, reinforce it, less. That's why people end up 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old going, I'm a complete failure, can't do anything, because they didn't just get really clear on what's the one belief that's actually stopping them, right? And most people have like some just core ones that really hold them back. But the same thing will change if they put a good belief in. I am unstoppable, I can do things. They tap into massive amounts of potential, massive amounts of action, get amazing results, then it reinforces the belief. And like, oh my God, look how freaking good I am. We can do more. Right? That's why the best time to make, if anyone's in sales, best time to make your next phone call, right, is right after your sale. Like make a sale, make your next one.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll ride that dopamine, you'll ride that success, and your belief is so much higher. And you'll continually success stack like that. So belief system is super important. The next one is the value system. I feel like I'm talking a lot here, so I'm nearly finished. And then I'll let you guys ask questions. I can talk for 40 hours about this stuff, right? But the next one is the value system, right? Our values is, how our psychology is built. First level is our identity. The words that follow I am, we will literally manifest and become. But then the person who we believe we are will value a certain thing. So they'll place, so if I have a belief, my identity is I'm an entrepreneur. So as an entrepreneur, I naturally value freedom, success, money, fun, impact. I value all these things. I tell you what, when I didn't believe I was an entrepreneur, when I was a carpenter, what I valued was fun, going out with the boys, doing all stupid shit, right? And so it's a different value system. And the things that we value, the things that we place at an absolute hierarchy of what's important for us in our life. So if someone doesn't value success or value money, they're not going to go after money, right? Literally what I'm doing, as soon as I leave here, as soon as we finish here, I'm getting in the car, I'm driving to Byron, I'm going skydiving today. I got my skydive license.
True.
Yeah, it's sick.
I want to do that actually.
You should come.
I'm keen.
It's so sick. It's next level fun. I'll show you some videos after this. It's fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
But every time I do this, I said, who wants to come skydiving with me? And sometimes there's a bunch of crazy people in the room like, yeah. Okay, who would never in their million years, even if I paid you $1,000, $10,000 would never come? And they're like, there's always a few. Nah. Never do it. I said, why not? And then I try to get them all to convince. Like, guys, come on, convince them. And they're like, no, not going. I said, you guys convince them not to go. And they're like, it's so dangerous. You shouldn't. That's stupid. And then I was watching them create this argument. I said, what's going on here though? See, one of you really value safety, right? And perceive that it's dangerous. And one of you really value probably just fun, adventure, extreme, like, just a little bit more open like that. But it's a total different values. If we value, you sit down with someone who, I've been to Fiji, I used to come back from Bali, right? You sit down with a villager in Bali. Why are they not extremely rich? They don't value money. What they really value over there is family, culture, serving, they're extremely happy though as well, right? Because what I believe is, so money doesn't bring you happiness, but living in your values does. So if one of your highest values is to generate large amounts of money, then you probably will be a lot less happy when you're not creating the large amounts of money you want than someone who doesn't value that and lives in their values. So a Balinese villager who just like, I'm living my life on purpose. I have my family, I have good health, I wake up, I have God, I have this. They're loving life. But if Bob over here really values money and he's not hitting it as much, he probably could be a little bit less happy. Doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with it. Means that maybe we could look at improving his value systems a little bit more and having it work together, or his perception of what a lot of money is. But as long as we're living in our values, we're living a very purposeful and incredible life. So I get people to really discover what is the values that's going to pull them into a life that they actually need to create. When we change this on people, their life changes in front of them. Because our conscious mind is the goal setter and the unconscious mind is the goal getter. If we can consciously create a vision for our life that we want to create and we unconsciously align it, right? So it's congruent, things just happen. Boom, success happens. Like things just happen because your success and your dreams and your goals are actually pretty simple to get, right? If we're in alignment and there's no conflicting parts inside of us, it's going to happen really easy. And the third part there is to develop the right attitude. If there's only one thing people get from this episode, it's this. Because there's a lot of stuff to learn here. I'm still working on all this every single day. I'm continually improving myself. But once I really cracked that, that's when I quit my job. I moved to Mexico, had massive success really quickly. And every single time I've leveled up, I've just clued onto the next me. But the last one's right attitude, right? So there's 3 types of people. So the first person, they can sit there and they just complain about the wind. They complain. Oh, poor me. The wind's not blowing in my direction. but they don't do anything about it.
Mm.
They'll just complain. If the wind blows in their direction one day, they'll be like, oh yeah, cool. But then they'll be negative about it. Oh yeah, but it won't last long. Sure enough, universe, sure. Right? How I like to think of the universe working, right, or God working is, whatever you ask, it'll say back to you, your wish is my command. Well, it's never going to work for me. Okay, your wish is my command. Here you go. Evidence, not working for you. If you say, everything is always working out for me, life is so good, the universe goes, your wish is my command. Here you go. Here's more stuff amazing is happening. More stuff. The second person, they put all their crystals in alignment. They get their cacao bowl out. They wait for the full moon. And, and they just sit there and they hope 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 that the wind's going to change. They're like, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to manifest it. I'm going to call it in. But what they do is they do nothing about it, right? And I'm not saying for spiritual people. I'm just exaggerating.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of them do it. But they sit there and they just hope that the wind will change. I'm going to keep doing the same thing I've always done, hoping that the wind is just going to change for me, which is the definition of insanity. I'm going to change nothing, I'm going to change nothing, keep going with just brute force. Right? Like I was doing when I was an early stage carpenter. I was like, I'm going to keep going inside, I'm going to keep going. It's like, no, the universe has clearly been like, this is not for you. We're trying to push you this way. That's why we're making it so hard. Won't you listen? Go this way.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be hard. It's meant to be fun and enjoyable. Like, come on. But people just do that, right? Then the third person, they just get up and they change their fucking sail. Because they're like, man, the wind isn't blowing the direction I want it to be. I'm going to get up, I'm going to change my sail, and I'm going to adapt to what is happening in my life. I'm not going to make up a story about it. The wind is blowing this way. That's a reality. That is happening. So I'm going to adjust to it and keep going. Oh, great, the wind changed again. Cool, I'm going to readjust again. I'm going to keep going again. I'm going to readjust again and keep going again. There's no straight lines in the universe. We'll zig and zag our way to success. If a plane takes off from here and heading to LAX, what are the chances that it actually leaves the tarmac in the exact direction to the degree that it has to land in on the other side? Probably next to impossible.
Yeah.
And if it is possible, we'll change the airports. Let's say they're flying to Tokyo. It won't be.
Yeah.
Right? So, but a plane gets off the ground, usually in the opposite direction or whatever direction, because the only thing it focuses on is let's just get off the ground first.
Yeah.
Let's just get off the ground. But if you go into the airplane and they said, all right, guys, welcome to today's flight. It's going to be amazing weather today, and we're not really sure where we're going, but let's just get up there and figure it out. Probably wouldn't really want to get on that flight either, unless you're going to have a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
But if you usually get on the plane once you know exactly where you want to go, cool, I want to go to Tokyo, boom, book my flight, it's done. It's done, book my flight, of course I'm going there. The plane's not going to land in LA, right? I'm going to Tokyo. Then you get in the plane, and all they focus on first is making sure we're safe and obviously whatever, and then they just get off the ground. They get off the ground, they use all their energy to get off the ground. And then when they're up in the air, they go, okay, where are we going? Okay, there. Okay, let's start turning. And then they get there, they go, oh, we're off course again. Let's course correct. Oh, we're off course again. We're off course again. We're off course again. We're off course again. They're off. If you ever watch the little green line on your plane, they're off course 99% of the time. And if you ever fly Jetstar, they circle for fucking an hour when you get to the destination. Right? But like that's what life's about. So I think a lot of people stop because they think they're going to connect all the dots looking forward when they can only connect them looking backwards. So if they develop the attitude to just get off their ass and actually get into action and course correct along the way and take full responsibility and ownership of everything happening in their life, then they'll be pretty successful.
Awesome.
That was epic.
Yeah.
You're obviously a very, I guess, intellectual person now, and sort of thinking back of how you were when you were 21, you tell that whole story. I guess this question is aimed at those listening, or to help those listening that sort of, because we spoke about at the start about most people being procrastinators and not taking action, all that sort of stuff. You've obviously been through it, you've changed, you've become this intellectual entrepreneurial person. But for those that are sitting there and they're not quite where you were at 21, but they want more, and they're sort of watching this podcast, so they obviously want to self-develop, all that sort of stuff. Can you boil down a lesson or two lessons or something that you've learned along the way, or that you focus on in your teaching now, for them to sort of take those first initial steps? Because I guess what we're talking about is a lot of theory and a lot of really intellectual stuff, but to boil that down for that, aimed at that person sitting there that you're
Just
struggling
trying to take
with
that
thing.
first sort of
Yeah,
step.
really trying.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular lessons that you have learned or that you teach, or something practical that person can do? For example, bullying.
Yep.
Can you boil that down a little bit for
Absolutely.
that person?
Okay, we'll go super basics. First one is this. Is if we're standing in a square room together and I say to you, hey, run in a straight line to that side of the room as fast as you can. Go. You'll probably start sprinting, right? Even if I said to you, I'll give you $1 million on that side, you'll run fast. But I throw a chair down in front of you, I throw a fucking table down in front of you, right in the middle of your path. What do? You probably just run around it. Run around, keep going. You'd be like, bizarre. 1 second thought about it, and then the rest onto your goal again. But if we say we're staying in a square room and I say to you, run anywhere in this room you want to go. Hey, when you get there, I'll give you $1 million. You go, well, where should I go? I don't know. You're a smart person. You figured it out. Get yourself there. What they'll do is they'll go, okay, where should I go? And then usually they just start walking. They won't run. They'll dawdle. They won't know where they're going. Then I throw a table down in front of them. Then what do? They'll usually completely stop and they go, oh, it's the universe. Shouldn't go that way. Or they'll go a different direction. They go, oh, it's not for me. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, I am a failure. Oh, no. And they get in their head. They go in a different direction. But the thing is, in each situation, the obstacle was the exact same obstacle. But the second time, the obstacle became the problem and it took them out of the game. It got them to quit, got them to doubt themselves and all these sorts of things. So there's numerous things that went wrong here. The thing is, when we are crystal clear on our end goal and we know our reasons why, we will find a way. We will get resourceful. We're very resourceful human beings. You ever seen a mother about to lose a child or something like that? They will do the most craziest shit.
Lift up a car.
They didn't even know they were possible to do. They're like, fuck. Because they just get resourceful. They tap into this whole higher strength, right? So if people are crystal clear on where they want to go and why they want to go there, they'll usually do anything they need to get there, right? But also another thing comes down into it. So let's break this down a little bit, right? So step one is get absolutely crystal clear on their vision, on their end goal. Because if you don't have a target, you'll never hit your target. If you don't know what you're aiming for, you'll never hit anything.
So many people want to be successful. They have no idea what avenue they want to go down. They just want to be successful.
Yeah, but it's not bad though.
No, at least they know they want to be successful.
Yeah, because if they can think of the end result, here's the lifestyle I want.
Yeah.
And reverse engineering. Here's the lifestyle I want. I live in this house. I want to have this car. I want to do this bank account. This sort of stuff. That's what I want. And they hold that vision so dearly to them. What they must do is be very open to the opportunities that now come their way. They can't choose their journey, right? Because they might have things. What happened to me? I got introduced to network marketing 20. I had no idea what it was, but I was like, well, I've been asking for a side business. I've been saying I want a side hustle. I've been saying I want to travel more. All these people are doing it. Cool, let's do it. And then that was my vehicle for a few years. And so having absolute clarity on the lifestyle that they actually want to create. What's the end result? Okay. And then the next thing is see the number one reason people don't achieve the results they want in life is because they just don't know what they want. That's the number one, right? If I interview someone at 80, how come you didn't build the life you wanted? Well, I didn't know what I wanted. That would be their answer.
Yeah.
Right? And then followed by, I was scared. I had doubt. Blah, 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 blah. I care what little fucking Sally would think of me. Who's Sally? This chick went to school when I was 16. Right? Second thing is, so to get a lot of leverage onto their why. Okay, so what I stand, like we all hear about, you need a why that makes you cry, blah, blah, blah. But why stands for what hurts you. What hurts you? So if the person listening right now, get absolutely crystal clear on what's the vision you want, what's the life you want, what do you want? What does it feel like? What's it look like? What's it sound like? What's happening in that life? And how do you know it's real for you? Where are you? What are you doing? Get really clear on that's the life you want. Get really clear on your why. Make a huge list. Get into the pain. Agitate that pain. Agitate that nail. Until the point you're willing to get off that nail, nothing will change. But if we get really clear on going, what hurts you? Not having this, having to say no to my kids all the time, having to not go on the holidays I want, having to be away from my partner, having to do this, all these things that this is the reality where people block out because they pretend it doesn't exist. They're like, oh, no, right? And they just focus on, they get delirious, one day. But they're not clear on the pain here. But they're sitting on the nail, they're not clear. What this does is brings the nail right in front of your face. So they get really clear on their why. Now they're left with two things. Cool, you got two visions right here. You can either get off your nail and start building this life you want, or you can stay on your nail and keep having this fun. Every day you wake up, you're choosing to have either the powerful vision or the current vision. What do you want? Because everything's a choice. Everything is about choices. So they can wake up every single day and choose this one or this one. So the third thing that they need to do is actually make the decision. So there was a guy called Colonel Cortez, and I think it was like the year 1614. I think what he did, he took a ship of all these men from Spain down to Mexico. He's like, we're taking on the Aztecs. That's what we're doing. So he took all his boys, all his amigos down to Mexico. We're doing this shit. He gets there, and they get to land. They realize that, oh, fuck, we are so outnumbered. We are so ridiculously outnumbered. So what he says to all these men, he says, turn around, I want you to shoot fiery arrows at the boats, set them all on fire. And his men thought he was crazy. He's like, Colonel Cortez has gone all loco. And they're like, what the fuck? And he's like, light them on fire, burn them to the ground. And they thought he was nuts. And he said to these men, he said, there's no point of return now. There is no point of return. So here's our options. We're either going to win and beat them, or we're going to die trying. That's our only two options. And quite often what happens is when people are faced with death, they quite usually learn how to survive. If it's like a sink or swim. If you don't know how to swim, you throw yourself in the ocean, you'll probably quickly try to figure out how to keep afloat. When most people are faced with massive amounts of adversity, they tend to get resourceful and survive. So until the moment when people are ready to actually 100% make the decision to burn the bridges, burn the boats, that there's no point of return, that it's like literally drawing the line in the sand and making the decision, because the word decide has side in it. Side means to kill. In Latin, it means death. It means killing, right? Think of suicide, homicide. It's all death, death, death. So when we decide on something, we're deciding that we're having this future and we'll stop at absolutely nothing to get it. When we're making the decision, when we decide that we will not have this anymore, it's completely done, we're cutting off, throwing it in the past, it's gone forever. Now what we're doing is chapter 1 of the new journey going this way. They're the things, getting absolutely crystal clear on your vision, knowing exactly why you need to do it, make the decision that is 100% done. And the fourth step I'd say is you got to take action. Because let's look at this. There's 4 levels of action. Number 1 is no action. People leave this podcast and they go, oh, that was cool. Said some cool shit. And then they go on with their life. Nothing. They do nothing about it. Second, and we know that where that's going to take them, right? They just get back on there now. Like, no, it feels good here.
It's comfortable.
Second level is blaming, complaining, and justifying. So people who blame, complain, justify, they blame everybody else for their results in life. They complain about the world. They justify why they don't have it. All these sorts of things, right? And what we focus on is what we get, and we know this. So if they keep doing this, they just go keep getting all the same shit back and forth. But the third level is some action. Some action is good. Some people actually really need it, because I think you need a good foundation before you go to the next level. So if you've been in a downward spiral for so many years of your life, and like let's take someone who's on like completely addicted to drugs and alcohol, and they're like, if they can't just tomorrow wake up and go, I'm going to go to the gym every day, be super healthy, quit. It's not going to work. Come on.
It's not realistic.
They go start to cut it back, start to do some good habits and build a good foundation. Be like, well, I'm going to go a day without having anything. Or if it's so bad, I'm not going to have anything until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And then I extend another hour. That's probably what I'll do. If I was addicted to drugs, well, I was for a while. I put myself in just like a month rehab, just didn't do anything. That's how I did it. But you just keep building that the foundation, doing some action until the point where you have enough that success stacking cycle I was talking about, where the next time you set a bigger goal, you actually have higher belief in yourself, because you're like, well, I've done this, and this, so of course I can do that plus a little bit more. Let's go, and they can keep doing that. But the fourth level is all out massive action. Because let's go back to the first person in the room with the table I threw down in front. First person, they took massive action, super fast. Because the more you do, the less you think. The less you think, the less you doubt. The less you doubt, the more you do. So the faster you're performing, the less time you have to think. I tell you, when I'm falling from the sky at 1,000 feet every 6 seconds to my death, and I see the ground coming at me, I'm not thinking of much else other than what's my altitude at, flipping around the sky, good body position, and where my shooters. I ain't thinking about work. I ain't thinking about stuff. I ain't thinking about what little fucking Sally's gonna think about my reel I just put out on social media. Tell you, I'm thinking about where's my fucking shoot, man. Then I pull it, and then I'm like, then I make sure everything comes out all good and safety stuff. Then I'm making sure, okay, what am I doing next? Where am I landing? I'm gonna enjoy some views, making sure I'm not gonna hit anybody. I land all the way down, and then about 5 minutes later, I'm like, fucking Sally, she's coming on the reel. Right? But the faster we're going, the less we have time to think. That's the reality. So that's why I do a lot. Like my days are jam packed. Like it's just insane. Like because I don't have time to doubt myself.
That's kind of what I'm like as well.
Yeah.
So
It's good, right? It's like you do need the faster you go, the less time you got to think about shit, the less time you got to doubt about stuff, and then the faster you're gonna go. But the slower you go, the more you think, the more you think, the more you doubt, the more you doubt, the less you do. So it's the spiral. So if we're looking for tangible stuff for the people, let's recap it. 1, get crystal clear on the vision they want to actually create in their life, the life they want to have. 2, increase the necessity to take action right now. So what is their why? What hurts you? Get a list of 50 things. What hurts them right now in their life? 3, make the full-blown decision that it's done, that they're killing all other decisions other than what they want to have to happen. That's it. And the 4th one is to go out there and actually take massive action. Doesn't matter which direction you're running in. The plane's just got to get off the ground first. Get your plane off the ground, figure it out when you're up there.
Awesome.
That's it.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, let's cap it off there. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And hopefully there's some gems in there for the listeners and enjoy skydiving.
Yeah. When does this episode come out?
Tuesday, 3 days.
Oh yeah.
3 days.
Because I've got so I've got some big shit coming up.
Yeah.
We've got so Dreamfest in August 19. You boys should come. I'll hook you up with tickets.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fucking nuts. Do you know James Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, so James Smith is keynoting at it. We got Aaron Sansoni, top business coach in Australia, speaking at it. Like I'm doing a huge keynote. But it's like the #1 event of the year for like young, hungry entrepreneurs. It's good. It's fucking sick. So people can check that out at www.dreamfest2023.com.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
We'll put a link in the bio too.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick. My podcast called Dream Out Loud. So I plug like so much stuff on there. Otherwise, my Instagram is just Morgan T Nelson. People can check it out, come hang out, and say hi.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm always replying to DM stuff and just helping people do shit. So
yeah, sick.
It's cool.
Appreciate your time, and I'll see you all at Dreamfest.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, legend. Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Sick.